Okay, so we're live on YouTube. Good evening. My name is Craig Clark, and I'm the Executive Director of the Allegheny County Industrial Development Agency in connection with a project which is the subject of this public hearing held on January 8th, 2024 at 7 o'clock in the municipal building located at 1 Marvin Lane in the town of Almond, Allegheny County, New York. Today I'm holding this public hearing to allow citizens to make a statement for the record relating to the involvement of the agency with the project for the benefit of PIC Development Holding Corporation and New York State Business Corporation. The proposed project consists of the following: the acquisition of an interest in an approximately 0.4 acre parcel of land located at 59 Main Street in the village and town of Almond, Allegheny County, New York, together with an existing approximately 8,066 square foot building located therein. The renovation and reconstruction of the facility, the acquisition and installation therein and thereon of related fixtures, machinery, equipment, and other tangible personal property on the land. All of the foregoing to be owned and operated by the company is a mixed-use facility consisting of retail stores, offices, and apartments. The granting of certain financial assistance with the meaning of Section 854.14 of the Act with respect to the foregoing include potential exemptions from certain sales tax, use tax, and real property taxes, real estate transfer taxes, and mortgage recording taxes, which is the financial assistance the IDA will provide. The lease with obligation to purchase or sale of the project to the company or such other person that may be designated by the company and agreed upon by the agency. I intend to provide general information of the agency's general authority and public purpose to provide assistance to this proposed project. I will then open the commercial comment period to receive comments from all present who wish to comment on either the proposed project or the financial assistance contemplated by the agency with respect to the proposed project. However, before discussing the general information and opening the hearing for public comments, I'd like to describe some details regarding the proposed project as outlined. The estimated costs of proposed projects are equal to approximately $2.8 million, and the estimated benefits being considered by the agency described briefly as follows: sales tax exemption of $224,000. Sorry, the boss. Mortgage recording exemption tax 0. Real property tax exemption $172,269.58. Provisions of Chapter 1030 of Laws of 1969 of New York, constituting Table 1 of Article 18A of the General Municipal Law, Chapter 24 of the Consolidated Laws of New York, as amended in Chapter 99 of the 1973 Laws of State of New York, as amended, codified in Section 906A of said General Municipal Law, authorize the agency to promote and develop, encourage, and assist in acquiring, constructing, reconstructing, and improving, maintaining and equipping and furnishing manufacturing, warehouse, research, commercial, industrial facilities, among others. Pursuant to Section 859A, the General Municipal Law of the State of New York, prior to the agency providing any financial assistance over $100,000 to any project, the agency, among other things, must hold a public hearing pursuant to Section 859A of the Act with respect to said project. Since the proposed financial assistance provided by the agency with respect to the proposed project may exceed $100,000, and prior to providing any financial assistance of more than $100,000 in the project, the agency must hold a public hearing in the nature and location of the project and proposed financial assistance provided by the agency. After consideration of the application received from the company, the members of the agency adopted a resolution on December 14th, 2023 to hold this public hearing, authorizing the executive director of the agency to conduct the public hearing. The executive director of the agency caused public notice of this public hearing to be mailed on December 26th to the chief executive officers of Allegheny County, the village and town of Almond, and the Alfred Almond School District, and published December 29th in the Hornell Spectator, a newspaper of general circulation. It was also published on our website and other places. Copies of this notice are available on the table. And now, unless any objection, I will not read that. Anybody objection? Thank you. You can read it if you want. It's been in the paper. The comments received today at the public hearing will be presented to the members of the agency prior to the meeting at which the members of the agency will consider whether to approve the undertaking of the proposed project by the agency and granting of the agency of any financial assistance in excess of $100,000. that will not happen until our February meeting. The notice of public hearing indicates the written comments could be addressed to myself, and no written comments were received by the agency prior to this public hearing. And since Jeffrey Piccolo is here from the company, if you'd like to, you can describe the project and briefly if you want to.
Sure. So the game plan, we have constraints based on the Allegheny Department of Health on the amount of sewage we can produce. So we were very limited on what we could do with the building. So what we've had our septic engineer design, and what we're working on with the Department of Health right now is 5 retail stores on the first floor, 14 offices and 6 bedrooms, but 4 apartments, so 2 studios and 2 doubles. And that meets the sewer limitations that we're constrained to, unfortunately. Originally, we wanted to do more multifamily. That takes a lot more sewage.
And so far, we're working through that, right?
Yeah. No, it seems like we made a lot
of progress
in the past month.
Good.
It seems like we're getting everything approved. So it's taken a while to get to this point. We've had to deal with FEMA, which we were just talking about. They considered it to be part of a floodplain, but we were able to get a letter of map amendment done to remove it from the flood constraints. And then we had to deal with, there was a special permit at that property through the DEC. It was called the speedy permit. So in the past, that building, all the septic that building produced was treated on site. It was denitrated and chlorinated and then pumped into the sewage, into the storm drains. So it went right into the river. They don't offer that permit anymore. You can't. It's really, really tough to get, very expensive, and it's not good for the environment. So we have to put a whole new septic system in there, and that's what took a while, and we're still working on getting approved through the Department of Health, but it seems like it's been approved. So our goal, and I've spoken with Donna through the Historical Society, and I've asked for people from the community to kind of give me an idea of what building, what stores they wanted in that building. We're going to set it up with 5 retail stores, but the idea would be maybe like a pharmacy, kind of a grocery store, a general store, maybe like a card store, and then whatever else would want to go in there. So we're setting it up for people to start their own businesses. If people don't, then we would step in and start our own. And it's me, my dad, and my brother.
Thank you, Jeff. Now I will open this public hearing for the public comment at 7:06. And unless there's a lot of questions, we will close the public hearing after 15 minutes. So by the way of operating rules, if you wish to make a comment, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. And I'd like to make sure we get recognized so we can keep the minutes. We have to keep minutes of this as well. When everybody's had the opportunity to speak, I'll conclude the public hearing, and the record of the public hearing will be prepared, reviewed by the members of the agency in connection with the agency's consideration of the project. Again, the purpose of the public hearing is to solicit public comment. We're not here to answer questions, but we will obviously try to do that. We're not trying to avoid questions. However, basically, we want to be able to give you a chance to go on public record as whether or not you have questions and answers about the project. So other than that, we're open for public comment. And those have been to public hearings. Sometimes there's a lot of comments, and sometimes there's no comments. So we'll be here till at least 7:15. I do want to thank the public for showing up. As I mentioned, this is one of my largest number of people to show up at any public hearing. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I think there's some support for what you're doing, Jeff.
How long is this projected?
How long is it going to take?
Yeah.
So on the timeline, we put down 3 years. I'm hoping a lot faster than that. But the timeline will be about 3 years because we're trying to apply for other grants as well to help renovate. And the current grant we were working towards ended because it took too long for the purchase to be approved from Allegheny County. So their deadline ended before we can apply for it. So we're hoping it's going to be restarted. It's called Restore New York. If that doesn't get restarted or reapproved, then I'm gonna have to borrow money from another business I own to renovate it. So timeline is 2 to 3 years. It's a big building. We have to deal with the Department of Health. We have to deal with all the guidelines and rules. So it's a slow-moving machine. But I would say 2 to 3 years. And when I bought it, I told Dan Haggerty, right? And a bunch of people that have made the place safe. So when I first got it, we made it safe. We ripped the back off that was collapsed and we sealed it off. But it's still in condemned status. So it's going to take a while to get out of that.
The stuff we were talking about, that's for tax breaks and things?
Yes.
How long a period of time is that for?
The standard IDA tax breaks, it's a 5-year, no property taxes, then 5-year ramp up, so it's a 10-year pilot.
It's not like the railroad's been.
No.
The railroad's been forever.
No, it's not forever, it's a 10-year, it finishes in 10 years.
The railroad.
No, this one, I don't
No, just
know.
want-
I have nothing about the
The
railroad.
reason I'm asking is because of the railroad.
No.
That's been on a tax thing for 20 years.
No,
And that's what I was concerned.
There's a lot of rules built into the application.
right,
So if I don't create a number of jobs, they could make me pay the back taxes.
right.
So the whole reason why they're even offering the grant is because of the number of jobs that we created in sales tax and creating economic development in the area. So there's a lot of stuff built into it that if I don't meet certain deadlines by certain time periods, they take it all back and I have to back pay it. And I have to pay, you didn't send me the email yet, but it's gonna be.
Yeah, there's fees that go on top
Yeah,
of it,
it's gonna
yeah.
be like $40,000-$50,000 I'm gonna have to pay upfront even to apply for this, and the property taxes there are only like $6,000. So I'm
Right.
basically paying.
Well,
for
I
a couple
wasn't,
years.
I wasn't concerned
Yeah,
about what
yeah.
you were saying, just a period of time.
Period of
Yeah,
time,
Because the
yeah.
railroad also promised that, well, we're gonna have create a lot of jobs, we put $10 million worth of taxpayer money into fixing it. And then the person, the railroad that took over automatically leased it.
No, into the.
This is what happened. That's my
It's a
past
3-year, into the application was built 3 years of renovation. So that's my deadline before I have to start proving it to me
Right.
what I said I would produce. And I forget what was in the application for the number of jobs. We built it based on the first 10 years being 50% occupied, which is 14 offices and 5 retail stores. So giving me, after the 3 years of renovations, 10 years to get everything occupied. I think we had a 50% occupancy rate, and then 75 from year 10 to 15, and I think 80 or 85, I built it from 15 to 20. So we expected to get occupied. I mean, I want it to be occupied immediately.
Oh, no.
You know, I want it to be renovated immediately. If I didn't have a lot of red tape, it probably would have been done already. I would have hoped. But so it's just a lot of red tape and.
I was just concerned about the time period that.
That's, they're 10-year.
Yeah.
The longest we've had is a 15-year pilot, but this is a 10-year pilot.
Jeff, I've had some people talk to me recently about crosswalks in the village
Mhm.
and traffic concerns.
Mhm.
And so I'm wondering, what are you gonna do with parking? And is there a study gonna be done for traffic flow
So that,
around the square or?
so that plot has 31 parking spots, right? And when Cosmos was there, it probably had 100 people parking there, right? So it's not gonna have as much parking as Cosmos. And I think everyone thought Cosmos was a positive to the community, and I hope this would be as well. So I don't foresee a parking issue. But the number of cars that pass through Almond, I believe in the Almond, your research, I forget what it's called, but basically they research economic development in the area and how many cars. I think you get 8,000 cars a day that go down that road, that already go down that road. So I don't see an increase in activity, but there will be people pulling in and pulling out.
That's my concern.
Yeah, and I don't anticipate it to be anything drastic, but if we need to do a research, we'll do a research, but it's gonna be less than Cosmos.
And I think we helped the situation some by making Park Street two-way.
Yes.
Instead of making it, because before you had to come out and you had to
Yeah.
come this way, so we can alleviate some of it, because Angelica Street is kind of a better exit, I think, looking, towards Hornell than the other, but,
And that was one of the issues that we were having with the septic, is that in order for the septic to be put in, they wanted us to eliminate all the parking lots.
I wondered where you're gonna put the septic.
Yeah, it would almost eliminate all the parking spots, but that's what we were working towards, is trying not to do that. So it looks like it's gonna be along the property line.
You can't even put them under the gravel. You have a
They're gonna
gravel
be
lot.
under the ground, but
Not
because,
under a gravel lot,
what's that?
because you have a gravel parking lot.
So they said we can't drive over the tanks. So that
Well,
was
the
the
tanks,
issue.
yeah, I agree,
Yeah.
but the drainage
But they
field, you can.
but they
Yeah, so what we were able to do is we were able to disregard the setbacks with the neighbor's property because there's an easement in place between that house and the neighbor's property.
Right.
So we were able to shift it far enough to the side that we would still have all the parking spots. And because we're removing all the tanks that are in place, there's not gonna be all those barriers in the middle that they have now. So we're able to keep the same number of parking spots.
I believe the biggest issue with parking is gonna be there is people that are using this parking lot now.
Yes. Yeah, which I think you continue doing, I don't have a problem with that for now.
For now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see as many cars there as when Cosmos had it.
I don't see that either. And I wish Gonzo's would come back. If I could, I would. But I can't open a restaurant there. It's too much sewage. So we are trying to open like a coffee shop, lunch place, and with a walk-up window, because a lot of people in the community said they wanted that. And so hopefully breakfast, lunch, with a walk-up window.
So you're not gonna have any speeding indoors?
There's gonna be, so the current design has, I think, like 2 or 3 indoor tables set up when you walk through the front doors, on the first floor. But it's not finalized yet and has to go through approvals with the Department of Health, so it's not definitive, but that's the current game plan. There's gonna be like a small, I have the designs, I'll try to get it into the newspaper once everything's finalized, but it's essentially one long store. If you're looking on Main Street at the building, on the right-hand side, it's one long store that goes from the front to the back. Then, next to that, there's a small, in the back of the building, there's a small like snack shop, like sandwich shop essentially, with a walk-up window. Then on the left side, 2 stores and one in the middle to the left.
Because
So
I
it's-
do
So
know
it's like
that,
3 little stores, one kind of smaller sandwich coffee shop, and then one long store that we were hoping to do like a grocery store, like kind of like a Rite Aid, like a pharmacy grocery store, because everyone in the town has right now is 7-Eleven.
right, and that's one of the things, for like the sandwich shop, for
Mhm.
breakfast and lunch, that's a lot of what we've been hearing from.
If anyone who's ridden their bike by, while we were working there to make it safe, so many people came up and talked to us, and everyone wanted to do something like that, so that's what we were setting up.
It'll be great.
Are there any other comments from the IDA's perspective or
Tax exemption, you said 5 years and then 5
Right.
years
a
pilot.
ramp up? It goes 20, 40, 60, 80, it goes back to 100%. Yes. The advantage of that is we try to encourage people like Jeff to encourage them to come in, and that gives the ramp up to get the full taxes when the
So right
assessment
now,
goes back up.
taxes on that building are basically.
But-
They're very well.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
And when he gets done, it's gonna be a boom to the village.
well, that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that he would do that, so then there's a ramp up to the full assessment. Are there any other comments? I can close. We can still sit around and talk, but otherwise I gotta take minutes of all this. So we'll close the meeting at 7:18 unless there's some other public comment on this project. Okay. Thank you for coming.